Right. Please ignore that behind me. It's very effeminate looking. I wanted to talk about this guy right here, Samoa Joe. He's probably one of my favorite wrestlers, and I always compare him. I always call him professional wrestling's version of Fedor Emelianenko. He has that aura. He has that mystique. He doesn't look like the stereotypical wrestler with the ripped abs and rippling physique and everything. But how he carries himself and how he wrestles is so intriguing, and it's just like nothing you've ever seen before. He has a presence to him. I probably first saw him in UPW and followed his career from Ring of Honor, and then when he went to TNA, that's when it looked like things were going to happen, the big things were going to happen. And it did look like that at first because his first run in the X Division was incredible. I mean, the matches he had were so good. They were the best things on the card. He had a 5-star match, rated by Dave Meltzer, of course, with Daniels and AJ. And I thought that run he had with Daniels and AJ was really good. He had caught on so quickly within TNA Wrestling and with their fans that people wanted to see him main event, as in go for the world title. And to me, this is where the problem started to happen. And this is why I want to talk about Joe, because I felt that they've mishandled him for a while. When they moved him out of the heavyweight, the X division, sorry, uh, it was intriguing because now every match he was having on pay per view, then it was with Sabu, and then the tag team match with Jarrett and Steiner, and the singles match with Steiner. Those matches were interesting, and there was this anticipation I felt that was starting to build. Fans really wanted to see Joe get the belt, and it did look like Joe was going to be the guy maybe in 2007 or in late 2006 because they were already building up this him taking the NWA World Title belt and challenging Sting and feuding with Christian, like having a mini ladder match with Christian on Impact. And then they brought Kurt Angle in, and that was interesting. And that was what everybody was talking about, the Kurt Angle Samoa Joe stuff that was going on at the time. Then that's when things slowly started to change for me with him because they have this great match and Joe loses, and I don't think that killed his aura as much as people say. What I felt worked against them was that instead of having Angle win the match and then build up maybe 6 months later the big rematch, or a year later at Bound for Glory the big rematch, where it's the big rematch and Joe finally wins the belt, they did the next rematch right away, and then after that, and after that, and after that, and then they basically done the feud to death. And then they had Joe versus Christian on pay per view, which Joe didn't win. And then they did the angle with Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle again at Slammiversary, after Slammiversary, with the winner take all belts, and then the singles match they had at Hard Justice, which people felt made Joe look awful. Like it made him look stupid basically. To get outsmarted by the top hero in that way made him look like he didn't belong at all. And people really wanted to see people wanted to see him win the belt. And then just from there, he just kind of floundered for a while for me personally. He had a great match with Christian at Bound for Glory, yeah, we will say that. And then he did that shoot promo on Scott Hall, which was interesting. And you know what? Initially, right then, people wanted to see a feud with Kevin Nash, and they should have just done it there and then, but they didn't. And then they make them allies, and now we finally get the Joe World Title run. The problem was, by the time they got to that run in 2008, they'd made people wait so long that they didn't care enough in the same way that it could have been in 2007 or like 2006 when they should have hit the iron for it. I will say though that when they did take the serious approach and they built the feud in the way that they did at Lockdown, it actually gave TNA its highest number, which is interesting because they've not gone back to that formula since. And that's baffling me because their ratings aren't getting any higher and their buy rates are fucking shit right now. Um, Anyways, they put the belt on Joe and it just, again, because you've made people wait too long, it just didn't work. And they put him in a feud with Booker T, which actually made Joe look like a heel. in a lot of ways, and I could go on about how badly presented that was. They kept having this annoying arguments with him and Nash, which made Joe look like a whiny baby. Then they had him wrestle Sting, and he lost to Sting, and then he floundered even more. And then they did that stupid repackaging of Joe, which just made no fucking sense. He's off TV, and then he comes back, and for lack of a better word, has a penis on his face, and is doing this Nation of Violence gimmick, where he's coming out with a machete. I don't know why they decided to repackage him with that gimmick. I really don't know why. But then again, TNA has done this with wrestlers when they get over. They did the same thing with Christopher Daniels. They did the same thing with Frankie Kazarian. They're kind of doing the same thing with AJ Styles, which is a different story. But the fact is, they didn't need to do it with Joe. Then they start doing this Joe has a mentor gimmick with it looking like it's going to be Taz, and then they just turn him heel and put him with Kurt, and then bring Taz in, and then it's just, now he went from being very special to being just another guy, and that's really unfortunate. And to me, I felt a big part of that was the way TNA presented him. He should have been the guy that slayed Jeff Jarrett back in '06. He should have been the guy that was the face of the company, but none of those things happened. They made people wait too long. They've made him look out of his depth. They've repackaged him. They've done so many stupid things with him that the aura has been diminished greatly. And the aura that he had was comparable to Fedor Emelianenko, where he had this presence to him that was just intriguing. And they've completely shitted on that, basically, in my opinion. And as of late, he's not been on TV for goodness knows how long. I think they've done this Joe gets kidnapped angle, and I'll wait to see what they do with that. But given TNA's track record, given how they do these things as of late, I'm not too sure what's going to happen. Uh, I mean, we just saw Lockdown, and the focal point of that pay-per-view was not the young wrestlers who had the Lethal Lockdown match, or the amazing match that Angle and Kennedy had. No, it was Hogan and Flair and Bischoff who were the focal point of the entire pay-per-view, who hadn't done anything on the pay-per-view. It wasn't on the fact that they just had this great Lethal Lockdown match. No, the lasting image is Hogan, Bischoff, and Flair. And unfortunately, I think that what's happened with Joe is going to happen with a lot of wrestlers there unless they don't change things. So again, guys, this is kind of me ranting. This is me in my calmest, actually, because if I was at my worst, God knows what would come out my mouth. But what do people out there think? Do you think Samoa Joe has been misused in TNA? Do you think Joe is at fault? You could argue that too. Or do you think that really they just don't have a clue or what the future lies for him? What's going to happen? Can they fix it? Can they fix it, or has he just become damaged goods? Let me know what you think. Comments, video responses, whatever. Let us know.